Good afternoon, everyone. So today I'm going to talk to you about what is trauma. So there's a lot of information out there, and you often hear people say, I have been through a lot of trauma. I've been through a lot of stuff in my life. I will get through this because I have been through some or other incident. I've been through a lot of traumatic incidents in my life. But that's not accurate in terms of neuroscience, because we all go through adverse events and incidents and relationships, and not everybody is impacted in the same way. So what is trauma then? Well, we are all actually ruled by our nervous system. Why am I saying that? So you all know the slinky. Now, we are all born with a nervous system. We're all born with a stress response. But that stress response doesn't just develop. You don't just know that you need to be careful if you walk over the pavement. So our stress response comes from our relationships with our caregivers. That's why babies are born already with a nervous system and a particular stress response, because you take your cue from your mother and while you're already in the womb of the mother. That's why certain babies, when they're born, they cry and almost scream a lot of the time, and you seem to not be able to calm them down. That's not really colic. One then has to go and see what's happened to the mom and what was her stress response and stresses in her life like when she was pregnant with that child. So why am I saying this to you? So as you develop as a child, your stress response, in other words, how I am going to respond to events and things that happen to me in relationship, you learn from experience from your caregivers. So if I, for instance, have had parents who's very strict and everything I do, they yell and scream at me, then my nervous system is not going to just be like this in the day. My nervous system is going to go like this in the day, because my body and my nervous system then reacts to what is happening in the relationships around me. And so we learn. So we learn what happens. Now, trauma that people talks about is when something happens to you and there's no one that's there to witness the event or that can come to you afterwards and calm your nervous system down. So what happens? I'm now a little girl, I'm at home, I let the plate fall from the cupboard, and immediately I go like this, because the fact that it fell and I know that it broke, now my nervous system is doing this. Now my mom comes and says, it's okay, and she hugs me and she says, it's okay, it's just a plate. Now my nervous system goes back to calming itself, to a regulated state, as they call it. The other side is the plate fell and I go like this and my nervous system does this, and my mother comes and she says, why did you do this? What happened? Where? Go to your room. And my nervous system stays like this, and it doesn't go back to this. It doesn't go back to this. Now it means that in my nervous system there's this almost like locked up energy that needs to be dispersed of, that needs to be getting rid of. But we as humans don't have that capacity naturally. As children, in any case, you don't know, okay, it's now fear or something that go and sit in my nervous system. But now what happens is, so tonight mom is calm again and she gives you a hug and maybe it gets back. But often what happens is in toxic stress is abuse would happen, or parents would be stressed about work and money, and now the child has had the plate fall. Tomorrow maybe the child breaks something else at home, or the child forgot their homework at school, and again mom and dad goes off, or mom and dad fights with one another, and the child has no one to go to. Now that go and it gets stuck in the child's nervous system, because the nervous system doesn't now learn through experience by an adult how to get itself back to that calm state. Now this child grows up with this stuck nervous system. So now tomorrow the child gets to school and the teacher yells at this child, and the child either just sits there or goes into the corner. Or because the child now maybe has a voice, the child completely acts out, because what happens now, the child's nervous system, in the nervous system, the child doesn't hear the teacher. The child's nervous system's memory is, that's exactly how my mother, so I'm now bad. I need to disappear so that they can't see me. So it's always our nervous system that's reacting to events in our life, and it's from experience. So what trauma actually is, it is a wound to our nervous system, which normally started from very early on, sometimes even pre-birth, that we didn't have a person who's calm or reasonably calm and can calm us down on a physical level so that our nervous system can sort of come back to regulate and no, these things happen, it's okay, and your body calms down. So now you get 25, 26, you marry, and something happens between you and your husband, and he's not happy, and the next minute he yells and screams at you. If you have not had any kind of therapy or anything in your life like sport or something where you can regulate your nervous system by itself, what the nervous system remembers is my father that yelled and how that made me feel. So trauma is what the body's response is after an event, in the absence of an empathetic witness. It means that if there was no one there to understand and have calmed your body down, those memories that your body and your nervous system sits within and then gets remembered when things happen again, and in your nervous system, this very much feels like the same thing I've been through. That is trauma. And next time we will talk about how can you be a safe person for someone that comes to your door, and when you look at their physical reaction, you can see that what they experience makes their body react in a certain way, because trauma is not something positive that happened. It is something that your nervous system remembers, and where you weren't calmed down, where there wasn't someone that could soothe you afterwards. In the case of abuse, for instance, if you were abused by your father and your mother didn't want to take your side, there was no one you could go to. So everything, all those memories is sort of stored in a cellular level in your nervous system. That's why trauma is called a wound to your nervous system. And the only way for us to repair this is not by words, is how is this person physically going to feel safe with me, physically going to feel safe with the therapist, physically going to feel safe in their environment, because the nervous system is directly linked to the body and our cells, and that's where the memories are stored of events. Take care.